Hello, my name's Mark, and may we know your name?
My name is Gabriel Interview.
Hello, Gabriel. And where were you born?
I was born in Brighton, and I have lived here my whole life.
So you were a true Brightonian, born and bred, which is very rare.
Indeed, I found out that was rare because I've been speaking to a couple of people and telling them that, and they were actually quite surprised, which I found surprising myself.
Because the whole of Brighton's full of refugees that never were born and bred here. Can I ask you what year you were born, or how old you are? Well, what year you were born and how old you are?
I'm 19 years old. I was born in 1995.
Right, so just at the end of the last century. Well, welcome. So you spent your childhood where?
I've lived my whole life in a house called 12 Trinity Street, and I've lived in Brighton my whole life, as I've said, and other than that, living in Brighton.
Right. Now here comes to the crunch, the toys. Did you have a teddy bear or teddy bears?
I had a fair few teddy bears, to be honest. I remember I had one that my mum gave to me that she'd had for a number of years. It was passed down from her dad, I think, and I've still got that, and I think I know where that is in my house. I had a couple of other ones that didn't really have any sort of sentimental value, but yeah, I had a few teddy bears.
So the one that was passed down from your grandfather to your mum and then on to you must have been quite an old bear. Can you remember how old the bear was?
Coming up to 80 to possibly 90 years. Very tattered. I mean, you can see that it's been through the wars.
Literally?
Literally.
What colour is he?
He is... It's hard to really say now. He's you could tell he was a kind of light brown, but most of his fur is worn off, so he's kind of like a tattered sort of dirty material colour with a red cardigan.
Has he got any holes in him?
He has a few holes in him, yes, and one of his eyes is hanging out. So.
Do you have a name for him?
He's called... Oh, what is he called? Bertie.
Bertie?
Bertie.
So for that 80-year-old bear called Bertie, who's got holes, an eye falling out and is a bit tatty, you've still got him?
I have still got him to this day, yeah.
And are you, when you have your own children, going to pass him on if he's still around?
I hadn't thought about it, but I think it's the only thing to do, really, isn't it? I mean,
I'm sure he'll make 100.
Exactly.
So Bertie, we know how you came to own it. How did you play with him?
With this toy, different to other toys, I didn't actually play with it that much because I was so aware of its meaning, and I kind of kept it as on show, as decoration, rather than actually playing with it as of such. But yeah, if I did, I remember my mum always used to get angry at me because she, obviously, it was her toy and she kind of still had some sort of bond with it. So yeah.
You mentioned one or two other toys that were teddies. Can you tell me about those?
Yes, these are my probably my most fond toys from my childhood. Two similar looking bears that were made for me from a friend from my nursery, which I decided to call Sausage and Bacon. And playing with them, I was very aggressive and made them fight almost every day, and was showing my mum these sort of wrestling moves and asking her which one would hurt the most, and that pretty much kind of writes how I played with my toys as a kid. Kind of miss those days.
What do you mean? It was like Teddy Wars rather than Star Wars?
Yes, indeed. I mean, it's kind of strange to think of it now, how much fun I found that, when now I can't really imagine doing that.
Would you just play with those two toys yourself, or have other children involved?
Oh no, it would be me on my own. me on my own. Yeah, it was kind of strange because the idea now I can actually keep myself occupied on my own. I kind of like, no, yeah, I much prefer being social nowadays, but back then I could happily live and play on my own, which is strange.
I don't think it's strange at all. Now, you've got 3 teddies you're talking about. Out of, well, how do you feel about these teddies now? Have you still got sausage and bacon?
I do, yes. Basically, I remember I was quite old when I actually started to kind of lose love for them. I was about quite late. It was about 9 or 10 that I actually stopped actually playing with them, and I remember the day when I cleared them all out of my room and put them all in my box, and my mum was actually quite sad at the fact that maybe it was kind of like passing away my childhood. And basically they're all up in my attic, all stuffed, suffocating in a box, so it's probably not the best place for them, but I still have them.
Well, that's the point. You've still got them. You didn't throw them away, so you do consider them as something important in your life. Would you agree?
Definitely.
So with any luck, your children will have Bertie the teddy bear of 80 odd years, and bacon and sausage to go with it. No eggs or fried potatoes by the sound of it.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah. Good to think that these are important to you still, although they're in an attic box. Can you explain why they're still important to you?
Perhaps because they were such a big part of my life in that time, and it's kind of sort of nostalgia. They hold the nostalgic value, really. I mean, I remember, I can imagine when I'm older, looking back at them and kind of being able to feel the same sort of childhood experiences I had when I was young.
Have you got a favourite memory of either the two having your teddy fights or the Tatty Bertie that comes to mind now?
Well, favourite, maybe the most impacting, I guess, was when I thought I'd lost one of them in Drusilla's Park, and I was looking around for hours and hours, crying with my mum, and then in the end I found it sitting upright on the side next to the monkeys, and yeah, I was a very, very happy boy.
So what was a very sad moment for you became a happy memory, and you've got to learn. I bet you never lost him again. No, because he's in the attic upstairs. We're going to hold it there, then we can have a little stop until we go on to the next bit. That's part 1. Moving on now. This is going to sound daft, saying to a young man of 19, if I said to you, did you play with any dolls? By dolls I mean a broader aspect, because I'm certain, or I may be wrong, that you may have had a Barbie doll in your collectibles. But when I say dolls, I think you understand the broad sense of the term. Did you have any dolls?
I did have dolls. I had a fair few. I had, well, it's quite cliche, stereotypical action man, multiple of them, which I kind of used as they are supposed to be used. Fighting, blah blah blah, James Bond-esque. I had, what can I remember? I had these wrestling figures which kind of performed the same sort of function, which would be fighting each other constantly. Any other dolls that I had? I can't really remember any other than that.
Do you know these wrestling, but obviously what I'm thinking now is at the age of 10, when you gave up your battling teddy bears, you moved on to the higher echelon of action man to continue the war. Would you agree with that?
Well, actually, I think I kind of gave it all a rest by 10, because I was kind of playing with all of them at the same sort of period, and and then by that time I'd kind of sort of video games kind of overtook that, and I started playing on Game Boys and stuff like that.
Now, what was your favourite out of all these dolls, and when I mean that in the broader sense?
There was this Action Man who my brother gave to me, and basically my brother was always my role model as when I was a child, and basically he gave me that, and I was always very protective over it, and he was always the one that won the fights.
How much older is your brother?
My brother's 4 years older than me.
So you had second-hand action of your brother. Can you remember what sorts of uniforms or combat gear they wore?
Yes, he was wearing some camouflage slacks, topless with a orange headband, and other than that, very little.
Sounds to me a bit like Rambo.
Indeed.
So we know how you came to own it, because it was a throwdown from your, or hand-me-down, I should say, from your big brother.
Mm-hmm.
And you played with it, and of course he always won. Did you play with other children rather than your brother when you had these, that came round and had these fights and battles and wars?
More so, yeah. But I mean, during primary school we had toy days, they called it, when you can bring in your toys and you had designated time for you to play with them, and in that time we usually compared and played with them. Can't quite remember how, but it was probably fighting of some sort.
Were you able to swap the toys, and as long as you got your own?
Yeah, I was quite protective over mine, to be honest. But yeah, no, I did sometimes. Yeah.
How did you feel about this Action Man, or the Rambo Man, shall we call him?
How did I feel about him? I don't know. I just can't. I don't really know how to answer that. I mean,
was he there? He was obviously there for a purpose, that in your preconditioning with your teddy bears, to continue this sort of, as you say, you moved on, although you played with that, to something else, which just goes to show. My point is that the dollies and the Action Man, the teddies, became redundant. For what reason? You did mention it earlier, but can you just reiterate it?
Oh, okay. Well, in a way, because it was more human looking, it kind of it was more realistic, and I could kind of like more relate it to myself, and I don't know, it seemed a bit more mature at the time, and then.
Right, like you said earlier, was about you then went on to Game.
Yeah.
Right, so if you can just backtrack that bit. So obviously the importance of it waned off.
Yeah.
And what replaced it?
I started playing with video games, which was the replacement from things like my Action Man, my teddies, because it was kind of the new thing at the time, and I just started to find it more enjoyable, to be honest. And everyone had it, and everyone could bring in their new consoles into school, and everyone was just so amazed by what everyone else had, and yeah, it was really enjoyable, exciting, because it was new.
I'm just going to ask, I wonder where Rambo is now?
I wouldn't actually be able to tell you, unfortunately. He wasn't one that I held as close to my heart.
Do you have the best memory of playing with Rambo?
I don't actually know.
Easily replaced by the future electronic age.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
I must ask it, but did you have any female-style dolls?
Basically, my mum, like me, has kind of kept all of her dolls and toys, and she passed down all of them to me, and some of them were, but most of them I didn't take as much of a liking to. I don't know whether that was actually due to me not liking them myself, or whether stereotypes kind of took hold of me, and I swayed towards the more masculine toys.
Nicely put. Did you play with any construction toys?
I did play with a fair few of construction toys. I remember there were Lego, which I had a mass amount of because of my brother, which allowed me to not have to buy them and ask them for Christmas, which was always a pleasure. I had Brio, which was the sort of, I don't know, they were like bigger blocks. I didn't really find them as enjoyable, and I also had the thing called Tonka, but yeah, I did.
Yeah. And out of all those that you had, which was your favourite?
Lego by far, I think. You had all these sort of themed Lego sets which allowed you to create what you wanted, but also kind of tie it in with the theme of your choice, which I always found enjoyable.
And what was the theme of your choice mostly, I wonder?
Basically, my brother was a Star Wars fan, and he always built these extensive spaceships, etc., which I didn't actually build myself, I just had the fun of playing with. But other than that, yeah, mainly just Star Wars.
And you don't seem to be at all perturbed by the fact that the majority of toys that you got seem to be hand-me-downs from your who's 4 years older than you, your brother. You seem to be quite realistic about that. And can you explain why that, for a young man like you, felt that way, or still feel that way, if I may say so?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Kind of, as I said, my brother was always a big part of my life, and it was always easy, the fact that if he liked something, I would like it as well. He passed it down to me, and basically him having it means therefore I like it. So him handing down all his toys to me, I was very happy, because it felt like, oh, finally I'm kind of growing up to possibly be like you, whatever, that sort of thing.
Did he play with you and the toys, like, your Lego and all that, or he had sort of grown out of it by then?
He's sort of grown out of it by then, so it was kind of like, just, here you go, I'm done with it, and you have your fun with it.
How did you know? So you played with, mostly the stuff had been made by your brother, which obviously was still together, so you were playing Star Wars and all sorts of things with it. Mm. Can you tell us how you played with it in that respect? From the normal fights you were having with Rambo and all that business and your teddy bears, what were you doing with these Lego sets that were created into Star Wars figurines, etc., and spaceships?
Yeah, this was rather than like fighting, etc. I kind of made like plot lines and kind of did like stories with the characters and used the planes as props to make it all more realistic, and kind of like made a little film for myself, but using my imagination, which I can't really imagine doing now. But
be interesting to think these days, with that sort of in mind, playing Star Wars, which is obviously still around with us after all these many years, that you say making films. I wonder if you were that age now with your own mobile phone which has a camera on it, that you would be using that. Would you have considered that if you had that technology at that time?
Well, that was what I was thinking of getting onto, because now all these kids are having smartphones which you're immediately allowed to play whatever game you want that you can download. So it's not that same sort of need to buy these toys that are actually physical toys, because everyone's playing video games because you can, and everyone does because you're able to.
Did you ever grow out? Well, put it this way, obviously you did. What point in time did you grow out of playing Star Wars and Lego and all that?
Strangely enough, that was a bit earlier than playing with like my Action Men and stuff like that. I remember playing with that probably about year 4, which I would have been about 7 or 8, so quite young. But
you mentioned another one which is often forgotten, Tonka. Tell us a bit about your Tonka toys.
Tonka toys, I think it was a lot less put on actually building it yourself. I remember having this Tonka truck which was battery powered, and you can use it to kind of emulate a crane and pick things up and put things down. It wasn't the same sort of build it yourself and have what you want. it was kind of more like the real thing, but less imagination really. I didn't really enjoy it as much.
I wondered if you had like your truck and your construction thing, your Tonka toys and all that, did you use your Tonka toy with your Lego bricks to actually construct things as a builder would?
Indeed, I mean, I did tend to just kind of mix everything together and just have the fun as I would. I mean, I don't think I actually used the Tonka toys to build the Lego and that sort of thing, but no, I definitely used them all together. I wasn't stuck and isolated one. Kind of threw it all together.
Constructing, buildings and all that, wasn't it? It was more. I wonder if Rambo was helping out at the time. Were these important to you? Because you say that you actually you come away from playing with such things earlier than with your action men and other action figures. So did it just you just fell out of love with it? Got boring, or tell me?
Well, with Lego and stuff, I did actually come to finding it quite boring. I mean, there wasn't the sort of sentimental kind of bond with it at all. It was simply, if you've built it, then you feel good about building it because you've done it yourself. It's kind of like you're satisfied with what you've created. But when they're just the blocks themselves, they mean nothing really, and you can easily pick up these blocks from anywhere, and they lack personality really.
Do you still have them?
I do still have them in a big box, all jumbled together with no sort of unique feature about them at the moment. I think they're sort of all in small parts. So
I wonder if they're in the attic with the teddies.
All together, maybe playing without me, maybe. Yeah.
What's your best memory of playing with your Lego?
Playing my Lego, basically, I liked creating the tallest towers I possibly could, and kind of try to make a realistic sort of community, and like with people inhabiting the tower, and then like vehicles, etc., etc. But yeah, I like that.
Here comes a crunch question. Although your brother was very generous, although he had outgrown his toys, passing down to you, was there at any point in your young, although you're a young man now, but when you were a kid, did you ever want a teddy bear or doll or action figure or a construction toy that you just weren't allowed to have or couldn't get?
There were actually quite a lot of Lego sets, strangely enough, even though I didn't really have the same sort of kind of bond with them. There were quite a few Lego sets which were advertised really well, and they were very, very expensive, which I always asked for, but kind of knowing that I wasn't ever going to get them. But yeah, I mean, I don't really regret not having them now. I mean, but yeah, I always did want them.
Just to round this off then, you've been very forthright. I just wonder if there's any other memories of your childhood with all of these toys that comes immediately to mind just to round off your interview.
Basically, thinking back to what I just said there about the Lego and what a toy that I always wanted that never was going to get, this was basically the time just when I was like kind of coming off playing with toys. It was where this robot came out called the Robo Sapien, which was advertised for doing all these crazy things, being able to talk to you, dance, like all controlled by remote control and stuff like that. And it had some price tag which was well out of my reach. And I always wanted to play with one. I remember one time I went round to my friend's house and he had one and played with it, and it was quite fascinating, really, to be honest. But I realised that I kind of was never going to get it. But yeah, it's just the way things were advertised. It was different because it was when the sort of modern era started kind of overtaking the sort of physical kind of things that just lack technology, really.
Well, Gabriel, it's been a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I really have enjoyed myself, yeah.
Any quick final thoughts?
Not really, no.
Thank you for participating in Toys in the Community. You've been a delight to interview. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you very much.